You want to get some livestock to save some money, right? I think one of the things that brings a lot of people to the homesteading world is the idea of saving money on better quality food product. That's one of the reasons we got into homesteading. Which is kind of funny because I no longer feel that's a great reason to get into homesteading. Saving money is actually pretty hard when you first start off with livestock. However, these animals behind me, they're actually really easy to save money on when you're raising them for meat. We're going to talk about that in today's video. About a decade ago, we got into homesteading with the idea of saving money on meat, on eggs, on milk. And over our journey, we found that to be really, really challenging for a lot of different products. If you've ever raised farm fresh eggs, you know how much cost goes into each egg, what you can buy them for. It's really hard to save money on a lot of products. But lamb, awesome, awesome product. You can save so much money raising your own lamb. Behind me are 5 Katahdin Texel cross lambs, which are about to be spooked by the gator. Wait for it. Gator lambs. Spooked. This year we raised 5 Texel Katahdin lamb crosses. The money we've saved raising our lamb has been huge. One of the reasons you can save so much money on lamb is because it's a very expensive product. Let's take a quick trip to your local farmer's market. If you live where I live, you're gonna spend about 15 bucks, 10 bucks per pound just on sausage. The more expensive cuts, like rack of lamb, could cost you $30 per pound. Lamb is a premium product that gets premium prices at the market. Now I know some of you right now are jumping out of your seats saying, that's a crazy number. Comment below where you're from, what does lamb cost at the farmer's market? Everything's more expensive at the farmer's market, so of course, go to your local market, lamb's going to be a little bit cheaper, but still, lamb is a premium product. I find it really funny that lamb fetches such a premium because it is one of the easiest animals to raise for like next to nothing. They just jumped into the next door paddock. They're afraid of me. Maybe that's why lamb's so expensive, because sheep are actually a tough animal to manage. But when it comes to saving money, they're actually really, really easy to raise for next to nothing if you have the right setup, the right feed for them, the right pasture, and you do what we do, which is raise feeder lambs. So let's start with that. I know in the comments section there are going to be people who disagree with this, but publish your numbers and maybe you can convince me otherwise. I think the way for most homesteaders to save money raising lamb is to buy feeder lambs. Small ruminants are a very tough animal to raise as far as animal husbandry goes. I cannot say that. As far as animal husbandry goes. In our decade of homesteading, we've raised almost every livestock you could conceive of, including camels. And of all the animals, small ruminants have been the hardest we've found to keep alive. Small ruminants are especially susceptible to worms, parasites, and they can literally drop dead overnight from a parasite load. Those of you out there who are good with small ruminants are saying, no, they don't drop dead overnight. Of course, they had the parasites in there longer than overnight. However, to a beginner, as we were in years past, your animals can appear perfectly healthy one day and literally be dead the next. They can appear healthy in the morning and be dead in the evening from a heavy parasite load. There are ways to manage this, but again, not something I suggest for beginners. And that's why in lots of my videos I have discouraged, when talking about beginner livestock, small ruminants. That said, there's a loophole, raising feeder lambs. If you buy feeder lambs, that means you're buying a lamb that has been weaned. You're buying from a herd that already exists a weaned lamb that you take back to your homestead and you raise for ideally spring, summer, and into the fall. A weaned lamb can put on lots of weight in just one season and be ready to butcher before winter ever comes. The beautiful thing about feeder lambs is that you really typically, unless you have a really bad year or a heavy parasite load on your property, don't need to worry too much about parasites. You don't need to worry too much about overall health and mineral intake. Of course, you want to give your animals the best care you can, but if you're a beginner in one spring, summer, fall, usually the mistakes a beginner is going to make, like not being on top of a worm problem or not making sure the animals get the proper minerals, usually a feeder lamb will survive its first few months on the planet despite you being a beginner homesteader. How do I know this? Again, I've been a beginner homesteader with every livestock you can imagine, and we always manage to get our feeder lambs and our feeder pigs, pretty much any feeders we ever raised, never had a problem with. And that's pretty typical because generally speaking, and there's lots of generalities, we're simplifying this video, generally speaking, you run into problems with mineral deficiencies, worm loads, on animals undergoing stress, which usually happens when they give birth or after years of dealing with a deficiency. Basically, feeders are pretty hard to kill. Of course, there is a cost associated with buying feeders. You're having someone else do the hard work of managing their herd, managing parasites, managing minerals, making sure they have healthy animals to provide to homesteaders like you. And so you will pay for the lambs when you pick them up. But feeder lambs are not that expensive. If you get them freshly weaned and you're paying by the pound, they're quite a small animal. So usually you can get them without spending too much money. This herd behind me, 5 lambs, we actually spent $1,000. They were not freshly weaned. They were pretty big when we got them. That said, I haven't spent a dime on them since they got here. So let's do some quick math. While $1,000 might sound like a lot, behind me I have 5 lambs. If I get 40 pounds of meat off of all of them, that's organic, grass-fed, best quality lamb you can buy, combined, that's about 200 pounds of amazing quality meat. Now I could get a little bit more, could get a little bit less, but let's just say I get 40 pounds per lamb. That's, even if I buy in bulk at the farmer's market at $10 a pound, $2,000 worth of meat. I've literally saved half of the money I would have spent on this product. And if I were to buy it at retail cuts value, $15 to $30 per pound, the savings is huge. And if I had got these lambs at a smaller size, I wanted them at a smaller size, they just didn't have any available, I would have saved even more money. Now, how is that possible? How is it possible to raise an animal without spending a dime? Well, basically you have to have the right setup and the right feed for them, which in the case of a small ruminant is a good quality pasture. So let's first talk about your setup. Lambs, one of the reasons why I don't suggest small ruminants and particularly sheep for beginners, they're very hard to contain. If you buy feeder lambs like the ones behind me, they're not going to know you, they're not going to trust you, and they're going to be very, very skittish. Watch as I approach this group, how quickly they just run from me and do whatever they can to get away from me. Here they go. Yep. They don't want to be anywhere near me. They will jump over fences. They will jump through high tensile electric fences. They will do incredible acrobatic feats to escape being near me. So if you're going to raise feeder lambs, make sure that you have really good perimeter fences. What is that here at our homestead? Well, we have 2 kinds of fences. This here is escape proof for any kind of small ruminant. It's woven wire, graduated down small at the bottom, and it gets larger at the top. And it even has a hot wire of electric to keep the animals from pushing. No matter what they do, these lambs will never escape from this pen. It's escape proof for them. There they go again, watch. They can't get out. So you want to make sure you have a section of your farm that has woven wire and even that added electric high tensile on the side to keep them from pushing against it. Just a little bit extra security. Special shout out to KENCOVE Fencing. They helped us with this fencing system. We'll have a link below for KENCOVE. Go ahead, if you want to design some fencing, they actually have experts waiting on the phone to help you design your fencing. Give them a call or check out their website. Can't say enough good things about KENCOVE Fencing. Down here is our woven wire, but woven wire can be expensive, and so up in our pasture, the huge area that we had to fence in, we went with a 6-strand high tensile electric fence. I'm going to be honest, if they want to escape from that, the sheep can escape from that. But we find as long as they are not pressured by us or some other predator inside the fence, which predators never get in the electric woven wire, the electric high tensile fence, they have no reason to push on the electric high tensile, and they have only once escaped from it, and that was on the day that they were first put in it. With good electric training, you can keep them in electric high tensile 6-strand, larger lambs just fine, and that's where we graze them typically all day long. Which brings us to the secret of raising animals and saving money. The best way to save money on livestock is to raise livestock that eat your pasture. If you have good quality pasture and enough of it, you can essentially raise feeder animals that are ruminants for free. This group here has been 100% grass-fed since the day they arrived. You can take a look at those lambs. They are fat, they are healthy, they are gonna be delicious. There's so much lamb on that carcass. Well, it's not a carcass yet, but it's gonna be tomorrow. We have a really good quality pasture up in our field. Not all pasture is the same. If you're wondering whether or not your pasture is good, there are people who can help you out with that. You can check with your local extension service, ask local farmers, friends who have some animals. You can actually send samples in to be tested at your local, perhaps your local university can do that for you. Since the day we picked up these lambs, they have spent pretty much most of their entire life up in that field eating our pasture. And one of the reasons we get lambs every year is because during the spring, summer, and early fall, we have an excess of pasture. We have more pasture than we can go through with the herd of cows and other livestock that we have. And so to deal with this surplus, we get feeder lambs in, we graze them through the spring, summer, and then early fall. And now when the grass is slowing down and we want to conserve what we have for our cows, it becomes butcher day. Clicks. And this is another reason for your homesteaders out there, you should consider getting some meat lambs. I've been homesteading for a decade, and one of the things I have learned, one of the best ways to save money on meat and growing your own meat is by doing your own butchering. You can literally double the price of your meat product sending it off to a butcher. Just to give you an example, over there you'll see behind my shoulder are some pigs. Every year we used to raise pigs and take them to a butcher. It would cost us around $400 to raise the pigs, buying feed for the pigs, buying hay, buying feeder pigs. And then it would cost another $400 to have them butchered. If you can do your own butchering, you can save a ton of money. Now you're saying, oh, there they go. You're saying, I don't know how to butcher. Well, there's another great reason to get lambs. Lambs, I feel, being an amateur butcher who taught himself, I learned on deer, and then I graduated to chickens. I don't know if that's graduating or going backwards, actually. After chickens, I butchered my first pigs. Then I got into doing small ruminants like goats and eventually lambs. I have got to say, one of the easiest animals to butcher yourself is lambs. And there's a few reasons why. First, lambs are really lightweight, which doesn't seem like that big a deal, but when you're trying to butcher like a cow, half of the reason why butchering a cow is something only experts generally do is because it's just everything is so heavy, you can literally actually hurt yourself butchering an animal that large. Lambs, one of the smallest homestead animals, you can literally throw them over your shoulder on butcher day. So easy to deal with. You don't need any special equipment to hang them. They're lightweight, they're easy to move around. Yeah, so just simple. Another reason why lambs are one of the easier ones to learn to butcher on is because their hide, unlike a pig, which you have to scrape the hair off, a lamb's wool, or if it's a hair lamb, you can, with a knife, very easily peel that away. It comes off very, very easily. So it's a simple process. Pigs and chickens, you have to scald, super high heat, you have to have special equipment to do it, and pluckers and scrapers and special tools. A lamb, you just start pulling and slicing away the hide, and it comes off very easily. Generally, you can actually do most of the removal of the hide by just pulling on it. There it is. For just $5 per pound, we're about to put over 200 pounds of organic, grass-fed, non-GMO, amazing quality meat into our freezer. And if you want to see how to do that, that is in our next video, which if it's already come out, you can click right here to watch. If it's coming out next week, which if you're watching this on the day this video is coming out, well, Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. Now, there are some downsides to raising lambs. All livestock has pros and cons. If you want to go through an entire lesson on pros and cons with livestock, watch this video. It will get you off in the right direction choosing livestock for beginners.